good to be back. I'm going to talk very briefly and then hand over to Sam. Maybe we could start with a quick survey if that's okay. So how many of you guys have got 2 smartphones? Own up, a couple of geeks. Man, that's like nearly 80% of you. Okay. How many of you have got either Alexa, Amazon Echo, or Google Home in your house? Okay, so it's about 80% 2 smartphones and probably about 10% with either or. Interesting, because what I've titled today is the next great platform is the one we already have. I have 2 smartphones. I have the Android Google Pixel XL, great phone. I can't wait for the next one to come out. And I have an iPhone. I can't believe how expensive the new iPhone X is. What was Tim Cook thinking? Not a lot of people are going to defect. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. What we're going to cover is just how pervasive mobile has become, and the progress that we've made since this time last year when I was talking to you about mobile-ready hero images. So I'm going to make 5 points. Everyone has one. It's the highest screen time of any device. You guys know this. It's addictive. Ask any teenager, try and take their phone away from them and see what happens. E-commerce has gone mobile and making mobile easy. And then I'm going to hand over to Sam, and he'll talk you through some of the retailer objections and some of the things that we've dealt with over the 3 years we've been working together. So a great slide from Luke W. If you follow him on LinkedIn or Twitter, he's a great resource on everything mobile, AR, that kind of stuff. It's actually a Gartner slide. If you're thinking e-commerce is only going to grow through desktop, think again. If you're thinking of your content with a desktop-only lens, think again, because everybody wants to do it on their smartphone, and that's what people are spending money on. If you don't believe me, this is a survey done by Global Web Index. They have a really big sample size now. I think their panel's about 70,000 people globally. 91% own a smartphone. Last time I stood up, I predicted it was 80% going to own a smartphone by 2020. We're already there. 80% of this room own 2 smartphones. So there you go. Mobile's addictive. So you pick up and touch your phone 2,617 times a day, clicks, swipes, and fast scrolls. Slightly insane. These are the screen minutes across some of the major countries. Some are more addicted than others. People are being treated for internet addiction in South Korea. It's a real thing. We can smile and laugh, but it's a real thing. This one I quite liked. A third of Americans would give up sex for a year rather than hand over their smartphone. I think it's a bit unfair picking on the Americans, but it's funny nevertheless. I chose not to answer the survey, of course, not with my wife. You're like, come on now, be honest, hand over both phones. Criteria done a survey, it's more than a survey, they've got transactional data as well, looking at conversion on mobile versus desktop, and the UK's hit tipping point. I'm in a global role, so obviously I look after countries other than the UK, but it's really interesting to see how advanced the UK in terms of conversion is now mobile first. If you talk to retailers like Ocado, talk to Amazon, they're talking numbers of around 70% conversion. In terms of 70% of their transactions are on mobile now, not just desktop. No surprise, really. But there's a problem. So the problem, quite simply, is people can't see the product detail. That is what's causing the conversion gap particularly with CPG. And because we've had a mindset of doing a pack shot, and a pack shot's good enough, and we've been doing pack shots for the last 20 years. And I guess the relationship with Cambridge started sort of 3 years ago with looking at what we needed to do something better for e-commerce other than a pack shot as a primary e-commerce image. If you do actually manage to create a mobile-friendly or mobile-ready solution, you tend to experience better conversion. This is another kind of slide from criteria showing South Korea and the UK doing very well. And thankfully, some of our work as Unilever has been called out by L2. If you don't follow Scott Galloway, you should. He's quite funny. And so what we're going to do today is very briefly run through these 5 things, and I'm going to hand over to Sam in a minute. For those of you who weren't here last year, a mobile-ready image is a category-first approach for primary images that allows online shoppers to fast vertically scroll. They don't like reading. They want to fast vertically scroll in order so that they can actually recognize the 4 basics: brand, format, variant, and size. So those are the basics. If you weren't here last year, I'm not going to dwell on them. You can download last year's presentation off LinkedIn. I've got it there. Where are we live? Everybody's been asking me that. I'm going to do this in rapid fire. So this is going to be a sprint. Charlotte, just talking about sprint, you all work in e-commerce, so we're going to do this quick. So in terms of big retailers, Amazon now is the platform we've gone after because that is a truly mobile platform. And it has add to basket in search results. Amazon's other platforms don't yet, and when they do, then we'll add them. Walmart, so Walmart accept all our mobile-ready images. Certainly from the UK, I'm just going to touch on a few. Sainsbury's, TESCO. Ocado accepts some, but not all, and I'll talk about the some, not all, as we go through the deck today, because I'm sure there'll be some questions around that. I'm pleased to say we're in 35 countries in over 50 retailers. The exact number is more like 70 retailers, but 50 is something you could probably hold on to in terms of the vertical strip ones. So who else is doing heroes? So this will feature some of your work if you're another supplier like J&J, like Charlotte. J&J's done some great work on mobile-ready hero images. I'll start with AJ's work. Where are you, AJ? It's great work. Making it really easy to choose the right size of Barocca and Rennie. Baysdorf, this is a compliment. Obviously, we compete head-on with Dove v Nivea. Quite interesting to see Baysdorf come after us with mobile-ready hero images, which is great. GSK, Martin, some really excellent work. Love it. Very, very clear. You're not going to get the variant wrong if you're shopping from these images. Kimberly-Clark, KC, very clear. They started actually some of the work back in 2013 with Andrex. They were one of the first. General Mills, I like this work too. They followed kind of what we've done on Magnum. Kellogg's, squaring out their packs, making them really iconic and simple. Richard Gibbons and the guys, really good work. Reckitt's, I find it quite amusing that the condoms have hero images too. Just so you don't buy the wrong amount. Nestle Purina, this is in Australia, they've done them. Mars Pet Care, not to be outdone, have actually done them before Nestle did them, so that some of them from the UK, you probably see these on Ocado. J&J, done some fantastic hero images. Most of these are scraped off a website in South Africa. You can hear I'm South African, so I look at those websites too. So they're doing some really good work in this space. P&G, probably our closest competitor. Greatest compliment for them to copy our work. We open sourced it, so thank you, P&G, for following us. L'Oreal, Mars, Mondelez, Oliver, if you're here, my namesake. Great work. We really like this. Kraft, Nestle, PepsiCo. Yeah, PepsiCo's are really good. We've called out the ability to do multi-packs is exceptional. Really, really, very, very clear. And Coca-Cola and Danone. So some other interpretations on how to do hero images. 2 slides to summarize, and then I'm going to hand over to Sam. So one of the things is, and I've been asked a lot on LinkedIn, so I might as well answer. I've had to build a spreadsheet, and you can't see the detail. But in terms of accepting any variant or some type of hero image, we've got 72 retailers doing that. And you can see kind of the big countries, the UK, US, India, and Brazil in terms of acceptance. And then there's a long tail of countries. In terms of those that accept the vertical strip and personal care, which is obviously a subset of all hero images, it's a smaller set of retailers. Pleased to say it's over 50 retailers. It's certainly over 30 countries, so very, very pleased with that. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Sam.
So I'm now going to look at the different types of hero images, and as Ollie's fantastic slides show, that on a global basis, across different retailers and across all the different brands in the world, it's definitely not just about vertical strips. So what is it about? These are the 4 sort of basic entry-level starts that we started with for personal care products to say, what are the 4 different types of images that I need to communicate the important things that the shopper needs to know across a different range of personal care products. So we've got this one we call S1 full square, and it just uses the full square of the canvas to communicate everything the shopper needs to know. Sometimes size is not on the front of the pack, so there's nothing you can do to amplify the size on the front of the pack, in which case commonly you need to take the size off the pack, which gives us S2 size only, with an image of the product together with the off-pack size. And then we've got these two where actually it's the type of product that's ambiguous as well as the size, very common in personal care. So I need to put in a strip to show this extra detail, and the position of that strip depends on whether it's a portrait product or a landscape product, which gives me the S3 landscape with stripe and S4 portrait with stripe. So I've got 4 different layouts that any product can use, but then we started looking at multi-packs, and we found that with multi-packs, it's very common and very beneficial to take one of the products, well done PepsiCo, that's inside the pack and show it outside the pack. And then we find that's not compatible with the strips and with the other off-pack stuff that we've done. So we had these additional 4 types of hero images, which are all about what to do with multi-packs. Now, we've got some different variations depending on how we do the quantity. So PepsiCo have put the quantity supersized on the pack, that's great. But for Magnum, what they wanted to do was take the quantity and integrate it with the product that has been pulled out of the pack. And this image is extremely effective at communicating the fact that it's handhelds and that you get 6 of them and that it's a variety. But if we look at laundry, they've got their category standard laundry baskets lozenge that's very, very important to push off pack. So we don't want to integrate the quantity with the item out the pack because that's the standard way of doing it. So then we need both an item out the pack and we also need the quantity separately from that. And then finally, this one was developed particularly for personal care multi-pack challenge, particularly popular in Netherlands, I believe, where all their personal cares are massive multi-packs. But in that, you've got a picture of a bottle and you're struggling with the challenge that actually the type of product that's in this bottle is ambiguous, and the number of them that I get in the pack is ambiguous, and the size of that bottle in the pack is ambiguous. So I've got a huge number of challenges to try and communicate in the 16mm square. And this is our proposal as to how to communicate all those factors together in an integrated way on a small image on a mobile. So in terms of challenges to this set of proposals for the different kind of layouts of images, the first one that we get is, why do we need strips? Or why can't you just fix your pack artwork so that it works? And the example that we use to counter that is these trigger cleaning sprays. So we see this image on the left communicates the fact that it's SIF, that it's a multi-purpose, that it's a trigger spray, and that it's 450 millilitres, all in an effective, integrated way on a small image. Now, if we took off those off-pack communications, I can tell that it's a trigger spray and it's SIF. I don't know if it's kitchen or bathroom. Can't tell. And I could solve that possibly by zooming in on this part of the product, which tells me the detail. And now you can tell that it's a multi-purpose spray, but you've lost the fact that it's a trigger spray. And it's still not possible to tell how big it is compared, is this a huge bottle or is it a tiny bottle for the trigger sprays? So we say that for some products like these trigger sprays, these off-pack communications are the only possible way that you can communicate all the messages that the shopper needs to know on a 16mm size canvas on a mobile device. But then, having been convinced by strips, the next challenge that we get is, why can't all strips be horizontal? People prefer to read text horizontal. I'm sure you can find space for a horizontal stripe on any product. And the counterexample that we use for this is actually harvested live off of Big Basket yesterday, where Reckitt's have been doing strips, and they've shown horizontal strips for vertical products and for horizontal products. So obviously, it can be done. But let me talk through some of the challenges that arise here. So if I start with this one, you've got a portrait product with a horizontal strip. You want the maximum amount of real estate that you can to show off your wonderfully beautiful portrait-sized product. So you minimize the strip height as much as you possibly can so you can show off the product. And then you find when you want to put the text in there, you haven't got any room left to put the size in there. But you go, oh, well, I've got some space here in the top right-hand corner. So I'll put the size up in the top right-hand corner where I've got some space, that's fine. Then you try and apply the same approach when you've got a landscape product, and now you find there's no space there to put the size. So maybe now I'll put the size down here. Except because my strip is so thin, I've got no space to write the units. So you might, if you're lucky, be able to see the 125 here. But if you imagine this is some bars of soap, and you want to communicate that you've got, is it 3 packs that you're communicating, or is it 6 bars of soap in each pack? You need to be able to know whether this 3 means packs or bars. And if the size units are this size, you've got no chance on a desktop, let alone a mobile device. So we find that, yes, it can be done, but there's some challenges that arise when you try and do it in terms of consistency and visibility of the key elements. And now if you compare that with our approach, where we recommend to say that actually strips should be vertical if it's a portrait product, and now you see that we've got consistent positioning of the size, always bottom right-hand corner, with enough space to show the units, and enough space in the strip to allow for text that's big enough to be visible, and 2 lines of text, if that's really what the product requires. So then, having been convinced by strips, sometimes we win that argument too well. And people go, well, these strips are a great idea. Everything should have strips. Clearly, these strips should be added by the retailers on a category level approach across absolutely everything in a nice category standard way. Everything should have strips. And then we show the Dove bar example. And this image on the left here shows the fact that it's Dove, that it's bar soap, that there's 3 of them, and that it's the white variant in a very, very visually appealing, functionally effective way, in an integrated way that matches how this product actually looks on the shelf, so that when I'm fast vertically scrolling, thinking about what that bar of soap looks like, what that pack looks like, I find it in that fast vertical scroll. Now, if we took the approach of adding strips to this image, we'd say, well, now you have an actual picture of, that's the actual pack, and we're going to add the fact that it's bar soap and that it's got 3 bars. And now I've got less room to display the actual wonderful bar dropping into the cream, milk, whatever it is. Lovely visual. I've got less space for that. And I've got this duplication of information with the 3 bars being on the pack and also being off the pack. The outcome of which, it just looks cluttered. It just looks like a bit of a mess, really. And comparatively, this is a much better image. I think this is the most globally successful image that there's been, not this one. And if we look at the Magnum multi-packs, then we find that by not having this forced approach to say strips are going to be on everything within Magnum, it means we've got the space to take the product out of the pack, to show the fact that it's a handheld, to integrate that with quantity and make this delightfully beautiful, very functionally effective image. Comparatively, if I take the pack, the photo of the pack, and add the fact that it's handheld ice cream and 4 bars as this retailer added, category standard shit, I think it's fair to say that really this image is, what was it, Ollie? Dull as dishwater?
Dull.
Dull, yeah. Don't want to buy that one.
Yeah.
And I believe that this is the one that's got, was it 20% uplift?
24.
24% uplift with that one. Don't think you'd have got 24% uplift with this one.
Haven't tried it.
Not going to try it either. So now I'm going to look at some of the common retailer objections with hero images as a whole. And we've picked out 3 to present today, 1 of which I don't believe the uplift, 2 hero images clash with my overlays, and 3 they don't look consistent. So firstly, looking at the uplift, the rationale that we get for this objection is that not all tests that all retailers have conducted have shown uplift. Not everything gets the 20% the Magnum got. And the other argument is that hero images only deliver uplift because they stand out versus pack shots. So if you take some hero images and some pack shots in a category, the hero images stand out more, so it's therefore no surprise that they get some standout. But this argument goes that if you apply it in if everybody in the category was doing it, then you wouldn't get that standout anymore, and therefore you wouldn't get any uplift anymore, and therefore it's not worth doing. That's how the argument goes. So our response, well, in terms of not all tests delivering uplift, not all hero images that are out there follow the Cambridge guidelines. And I've picked out some of the examples here that I would consider are not the best hero images that have ever been made. And when tests are done on these hero images and the performance outcomes aren't as high as people would like, I would then be saying, well, how do these hero images need to be improved? So in this case, with the Head and Shoulders, I would say that it should be the 2-in-1 that should be called out, because that's the area of ambiguity regarding the shampoos, the conditioners, and the 2-in-1s that all look the same. In terms of this one, it's a beautiful interpretation of our template with the correct use of the colour of the strip to be the variant of the product, but they've missed the fact that when the colour is very light, the text should be reversed to dark grey so that it's actually visible. So that should be improved. And I don't know what's happened with the 3D rendering on this Tresemme one. For those of you who can see it, sorry, it's at the bottom. But something's gone wrong with the 3D rendering, that it just doesn't even look like a bottle anymore. But some retailers, should we say, tests have been performed where the things haven't been positive, and then people have said, right, that's it, hero images are out. Rather than saying, well, how can we improve these hero images? How can we do it better? And that surprises me. Some tests haven't been mobile focused. They've been either combining the two together as a whole, or almost it's actually still the desktop is their world, and not really noticed this transition to mobile, where actually you've got to design for mobile first. That's the platform that matters. Desktop gets what it gets. Mobile is the place where the interesting stuff happens. But an awful lot of this actually misses the point, which is that when we first started designing hero images, this was our mission statement. Hero images are designed to help shoppers select the right product faster. Coming back to the point made earlier today about patience is a non-existent virtue. When it's online shopping, it's speed that people want. And everyone's talking about uplift. Now, I know uplift is very, very important, but whatever happened to these bits? Oops. So, let me give you a personal example. My wife drinks PG Tips. If I'm going to go and do the shopping, and I go on, and I buy PG Tips, I'm a good husband, all is well with the world. If I go on, and I buy Tetley's, then my wife is going to ask me, why did you buy Tetley's? And you can imagine her face when I say, they have this fantastic hero image. So it's fair to say that I'm going to buy PG Tips. It doesn't matter whether I'm served the pack shots or these hero images. I'm still going to come out with PG Tips in my basket. So the uplift from my personal experience from switching this to this is none. I was always going to buy PG Tips. And if you take a category-based approach for laundry or something, I would personally believe that the amount of laundry that people do in the country is not going to change when we switch to hero images. So the global uplift that you would expect when laundry switches to hero images is in the region of zero. It's just noise. But back to my personal shop, I can definitely make a mistake by getting it wrong and looking at all of these and not realizing that actually this is the enormous one and this one over here is the tiny one, and end up either with a product that doesn't fit in my cupboard or with a product that doesn't meet my catering needs. So this can go wrong, and it can go wrong where I accidentally get the decaf because it wasn't that clear. So there are ways that this can be better. It can, if we measured actually how fast people were able to do their shops and compared hero images, do they allow people to shop faster? And do we measure the fact that wrong size products are getting returned, and do hero images improve this? So we do a quick poll. Can you put your hand up if you have seen, been involved with, or planned a test live with a retailer to measure uplift, hero images versus pack shots? Yes? I know we have. Yes? A few hands in the room? Okay. Now, put your hands up again if you've been involved in a test that checks whether hero images allow people to shop faster live with a retailer. 1. Yeah. We've tried to open this conversation with a retailer to say, can we track qualitative outcomes to see if shoppers prefer them? Can we track whether they get people to shop faster? And it's fair to say the retailer looked at me like I was mad because I was talking about something that wasn't uplift, and they just didn't understand. You know, yes, uplift is very, very important. When you get 20% uplift off of Magnum, it's a very easy sell to get those images in. But when your uplift is flat, there are other very good reasons why hero images are still a good idea. And we've got to start opening our eyes to other metrics and convincing retailers that there are other metrics that matter. Now, next point, hero images clash with overlays. And this one's my personal favourite slide. Let's look at some rubbish, okay? Here we have a Finest hero image from a TESCO Finest pack of bacon with TESCO's own shelf life lozenge, completely obliterating their own TESCO Finest brand. And not content with this, it's obliterating the fact as to whether it's smoked or unsmoked bacon. Couldn't make it up. But it can get worse, because you can get the shelf life lozenge together with a special offer lozenge, which can take a wonderful message about the fact that this is an 18-pack, not to be confused with the 4-pack that looks identical, and obliterate that. But it's not just Tesco. Ocado are quite capable of obliterating the Cart Door brand by saying you can get a coupon for this with £1 off. And Asda are quite capable of almost sprinkling lozenges randomly on the top of their own product, so that the only thing you can be sure of is that this is a meal for one. God knows what it is, but as long as a meal for one is what you're after, this is the product for you. So it's fair to say that things are fairly bad already when we take pack shots and start spraying lozenges over them without any real care for what happens. But when we move on to hero images with strips, the problem only gets worse. And this is live on a South African retailer yesterday, which makes me wonder, should we just forget about the picture of the product, splash lozenges all over the square, and see whether that leads people to buy it? And of course, if it's the vertical strip that indicates whether this is a shampoo, a conditioner, or a 2-in-1, you can't tell that anymore. And all that wonderful hard work from the brand to communicate these things in a clear manner has been completely destroyed. So it's fair to say that retailer overlays is not just a problem with hero images, they clash with pack shots as well. And until retailers have better technology to position overlays in a sensible manner, to look at where there's available white space in the product and only use that available white space, embedding overlay communications inside the actual primary image that's served to the retailer is the only way where a person can look at these things and say, that bit can't go there, it's going to have to go somewhere else, because it's not going to obscure the brand. And that personal approach to embedding them with the design agencies is the only way to avoid these abominations. I mean, I have to say personally, I find it shocking that we highlighted these sorts of things 2 years ago to the retailers, that this was happening. And 2 years later, we looked yesterday and harvested all of these images live yesterday. In 2 years, nothing has happened about this. And I have to say it's time for the people in this room to stand up and say, stop it. Okay? This is not on. Customers on e-commerce deserve better. And this is trademark infringement. And it's not allowed. Now, this message has been attempted, I think, from Unilever. But when it's only one brand team saying to the retailers, they're saying, well, we're the retailer, you're the brand. We'll tell you what to do, not the other way around. But this has got to stop. The shoppers deserve better. But is there a better way? The argument goes that, well, people look at the images, so if you want to communicate that it's a special offer, overlaying it onto the image is the only way to go. Well, here's Coles in Australia doing special offer with a title banner and a background fill. Very, very effective. Here's Sainsbury's doing it with some red text. But you may notice that on these ones, the panel size has got a bit bigger than other retailers that use these overlays. So I sat down for a couple of hours and said, well, could I design a better app that communicates special offers using background fill and title banners without bloating the panel size, so that you have a variable panel size for the ones that are on offer are bigger and the ones that are not on offer are smaller, so you still get that ability to vertical scroll. And again, I think I find it shocking that in a couple of hours, I would say that I designed a better retailer app than every single billion-dollar retailer in the world. Just my opinion. Retailers should design better mobile apps. Third one, they don't look consistent. The rationale for this objection is that if you look at these, you get an inevitable mix in a retailer of pack shots and hero images. And if you look at this one, it does look more consistent when they're all pack shots. Our response? Pack shots don't work on a mobile, and they never will. Here we see some images of shampoo. One of them is a 2-in-1. You cannot tell. It's this one down here. Here we have some images, and you can tell which one is the 2-in-1 because it's a hero image. Now, we are moving towards trying to improve consistency. I'm going to hand over to Paul at GS1 in a minute, who'll talk more about this and what GS1 are. But in the meantime, while the GS1 process is starting and continuing, we have mobile-ready hero image guidelines at ecommerce.inclusivedesigntoolkit.com, or just search Google for mobile-ready hero, and you'll pretty much get there. And this is edited and authored by the team at the University of Cambridge in collaboration with the guys at Unilever. But this is a live website. We are open to the idea, with evidence and rationale that it can be improved, it can be changed. So if you have any issues with it or any suggestions, please do give us feedback. You can put feedback straight into the website. It goes straight to me. Or those of you that know will know that following Ollie's LinkedIn feed is a very interesting place for a lot of discussion on this sort of thing. And please join that discussion. Leave your comments. Let's have the debate about what should or shouldn't be allowed. Follow that channel and place your comments. So now I've got the last few slides on where next. We know what we've done. We've achieved lots, but where's the future going? Well, it's not set in stone. There's many different things that can happen in the next few years. We advocate that there should be 8 possible allowable types of hero images, depending on the needs of the particular product in that category, that to a greater or a lesser extent, they will need different ones of these kind of images. But the argument is not one on a global basis. As Ollie said, there are retailers who will not take these strips. They believe that that is not the place for images to be including this kind of information. And if we're looking for a global standard, it's possible that the only way to get all retailers to agree is to drop these solutions. I put that on silent, and it's ignoring me. Very good. Right, that might be where we end up, because the only place retailers can agree is these, and these solutions get dropped. We might have the alternative approach, where they say if these strips are so good, we're going to apply the strips globally to everything. And in fact, we only end up with these 2 strip solution. It's quite possible that none of the retailers will agree to anything. And we'll have some retailers saying, our guidelines say we're going to do this, and other retailers saying, our guidelines are only going to allow this kind of thing. And at different countries as well, we might not get to a single standard that all retailers and all suppliers can agree to. But the important point here is to have your say. GS1 are starting a process to develop mobile-ready hero images into their guidelines. Join the working group. Have your say. Contribute to the discussion. And with that, I'll hand over.